Olivia had always believed that love was about trust. That's why, when she married Ethan, she never questioned the story he told her. A self-made billionaire, a man admired for his resilience, Ethan had suffered a tragic accident years ago that left him confined to a wheelchair. But despite his condition, he built a business empire that made headlines, proving to the world that limitations were only in the mind. To Olivia, he was everything she had ever wanted: kind, brilliant, charming. He had a way of making her feel seen in a way no one else ever had. Marrying him felt like stepping into a fairy tale, the kind that most women only dreamed of. Their wedding was a lavish affair, splashed across society pages, and Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that she was the luckiest woman in the world. Their life together was perfect, or so she thought. It began with small things. At first, Olivia didn't even think much of it. Ethan's personal nurse, a middle-aged woman who had worked for him for years, suddenly quit with no explanation. When Olivia tried to ask her why, the woman only shook her head and muttered, "Some secrets aren't mine to tell." Then there were the inconsistencies. Ethan had always told her he had no feeling in his legs, but sometimes, she caught him flinching when she touched his knee under the dinner table. Once, she found his wheelchair placed differently than how he had left it before bed, and another time, she swore she heard footsteps in the house late at night when she knew he had been asleep in their room. She brushed it all off. There was no way he could be lying about something so serious. What kind of person would do that? Then, one night, everything changed. It was past midnight when Olivia woke up to the sound of movement downstairs. She frowned, confused. The house was supposed to be locked up, and their security system would have gone off if someone had broken in. Slowly, she pushed off the covers and tiptoed to the door, pressing her ear against the wood. Silence. Maybe she had imagined it. She was about to turn back when she heard it again, a soft creak of floorboards. Her pulse quickened. She grabbed her phone and slowly made her way down the stairs. The living room was dark, but the faint glow of moonlight streamed through the glass doors. And then she saw it. A tall figure stood near Ethan's study. Her breath caught in her throat. The man turned his head slightly, and Olivia nearly screamed. It was Ethan. But it wasn't just that. It was the fact that he was standing. She must have made a noise because, in the next second, Ethan spun around, his face flooding with panic. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Olivia felt her heart hammering against her ribs, her throat going dry. Ethan took a slow step forward, a step, and Olivia backed away instinctively. "How?" her voice cracked. You can walk." Ethan's expression was unreadable, his jaw tightening. "Olivia, let me explain." She shook her head. No, this isn't possible." You said you couldn't," she was babbling, unable to process what she was seeing. Everything she had believed about her husband, about their life, was a lie. Ethan exhaled sharply, looking at her with an unreadable expression. "You need to trust me." Trust. The word made Olivia's stomach churn. How could she trust him when he had been lying to her from the beginning? How long had this been going on? Was he even really disabled at all? She forced herself to take a deep breath, her mind racing. "Tell me the truth," she demanded, her voice steadier this time. "No more lies, Ethan. Who are you?" For a long moment, Ethan just looked at her, something dark flickering in his eyes. Then, finally, he spoke. "I never meant for you to find out like this." Olivia waited, arms crossed, anger bubbling under her skin. Ethan glanced toward the window as if deciding how much to tell her. When he turned back to her, his expression was serious. "It's complicated." She let out a hollow laugh. "Complicated? That's all you have to say?" Ethan ran a hand through his hair, looking frustrated. "Olivia, listen. I was in an accident. It was real. But, he hesitated. But things changed. She stared at him, her breath shallow. Changed how? Are you telling me that you've been pretending to be in a wheelchair? All these years? Ethan swallowed hard. It wasn't supposed to be like this. That wasn't an answer. Olivia took a step back, shaking her head. I don't even know who you are right now. A flicker of something, pain? Regret, crossed his face, but she didn't let herself feel sorry for him. Not yet. I need to know everything, she said, her voice steel. Right now. Or I walk out that door and never come back. Ethan let out a long breath and finally nodded. All right, he said quietly. You want the truth? I'll give it to you. But once you hear it, you might wish you never asked. Olivia's stomach twisted, but she didn't back down. Try me. Ethan stared at her for a long moment, then finally, he took a step forward. And in that moment, something in his expression changed. A chill ran down Olivia's spine. She suddenly had the horrible feeling that whatever Ethan was about to tell her was going to change everything she thought she knew, forever. Olivia felt as though the floor beneath her had vanished. She stared at Ethan, her husband, the man she had trusted, the man she had loved, standing there like it was the most natural thing in the world. But it wasn't natural. It was impossible. And the way he looked at her, a mix of regret and something else she couldn't quite name, sent a chill through her. Sit down, he said softly. She almost laughed at the irony. For years, she had watched him maneuver a wheelchair, watched him struggle to do the most basic things, and now that she knew the truth, he was the one telling her to sit down. No, she whispered, shaking her head. I want the truth. Right now. Ethan's jaw tensed. He walked toward the chair near the fireplace and lowered himself into it like it was something he had done 1,000 times before. Olivia remained standing, arms crossed over her chest as if that would shield her from whatever was about to come next. I never meant for you to find out this way, he said. She let out a short, bitter laugh. Yeah? And how exactly were you planning to tell me? On our 20th anniversary? Or maybe you were never going to tell me at all. Ethan sighed, rubbing his hands together. It's not what you think. Oh, it's not? She gestured wildly toward him. Because what I think is that you've been lying to me since the moment we met. What I think is that you've been pretending to be in a wheelchair, and I have no idea why. What I think, Ethan, is that I married a stranger. His head dropped slightly, and for a moment, she saw something like real pain in his expression. But she didn't let it soften her. Not yet. I was in an accident, he said finally. I know, she shot back. Or at least, I thought I knew. He lifted his gaze to meet hers, and there was something there, something dark, something wounded. The accident was real, Olivia. But what happened after, wasn't. She swallowed hard. Explain. Ethan leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. 12 years ago, I was the CEO of one of the fastest-growing companies in the country. I was young, ambitious, reckless. I didn't care who I stepped on to get to the top. And that made me enemies. Olivia frowned. This wasn't the story she had expected. One day, I was driving home late at night when my car was forced off the road. It wasn't an accident. Someone wanted me dead. Her breath hitched. Someone tried to kill you? He nodded. The crash should have killed me. It nearly did. I was in the hospital for months, and for a while, the doctors thought I would never walk again. And that's when I realized something. She stared at him, waiting. I realized that being helpless was my only way to survive. The words sent a shiver down her spine. Ethan leaned back against the chair, his expression unreadable. The moment I was declared disabled, the threats stopped. The people who wanted me gone suddenly lost interest because I was no longer a threat. They thought I was finished. They thought I couldn't fight back. So I let them believe it. Olivia felt lightheaded. You faked it? His hands curled into fists. I wasn't faking at first. The injuries were real. But as I recovered, I made a choice. If the world thought I was weak, then they would stop coming after me. So I stayed in the chair. I let everyone believe I couldn't walk. And it worked. I rebuilt my life, my company. I was safe. She shook her head. Safe? You built our marriage on a lie, Ethan. You let me believe you were something you weren't. How could you do that? His eyes darkened. Because if I didn't, I wouldn't be alive right now. The weight of his words settled over her like a thick fog. So what happens now? She whispered. He ran a hand down his face. I don't know. Olivia felt her whole body tremble. If what he was saying was true, then someone dangerous, still wanted him gone. Are you still in danger? She asked. Ethan hesitated. It was slight, but she caught it. You are, she breathed. Aren't you? I can handle it, he said quickly. She narrowed her eyes. Like you handled lying to me for years? He flinched. She took a shaky step backward. I don't even know what's real anymore. Were you ever going to tell me? Or were you just planning to keep up the act forever? His silence told her everything. She let out a bitter laugh. Unbelievable. Olivia, I need some time. She turned and started toward the stairs, but his voice stopped her. Someone sent you an email, didn't they? Her heart slammed against her ribs. Slowly, she turned back around. How do you know about that? Ethan's jaw tightened. Because they sent one to me, too. Her breath hitched. What did it say? His expression darkened. It said, we know the truth. And so does your wife. Olivia felt ice in her veins. This wasn't just about a lie anymore. This was about something much, much bigger. Olivia's pulse pounded in her ears. The weight of Ethan's words wrapped around her like an iron grip, suffocating, paralyzing. Someone else knew the truth. Someone who had been watching them. Someone who had been waiting. She forced herself to swallow the rising panic. Ethan, she whispered, her voice shaking, who sent the email? Ethan clenched his jaw. His entire body was tense, his usual air of calm shattered. He was afraid. And that terrified her even more. I don't know, he admitted, running a hand through his hair. But I have a feeling it's someone from my past. His past. The past he had hidden from her. Olivia shook her head, the reality of the situation slamming into her with full force. This wasn't just a lie. It was a conspiracy. A secret so deep that someone had been willing to kill to keep it buried. You need to tell me everything, she said, her voice steadier now. No more half-truths. No more evasions. I want the whole story. Ethan hesitated for a moment, then nodded. I started my company, Titan Industries, when I was 25. Back then, it was just me and a few guys working out of a rented office space. We were ambitious. Hungry. Willing to take risks. He let out a bitter laugh. Too many risks. Olivia stayed silent, letting him speak. We were developing a new kind of cybersecurity software. Something revolutionary. The kind of technology that could protect data so well that no one, not even the government, could break through it. His eyes darkened. That's when they came. Who? Ethan hesitated. Powerful people. Investors, politicians, corporate giants. They wanted the software. But they didn't want it for security. They wanted to control it. To weaponize it. A cold chill ran down Olivia's spine. I said no, Ethan continued. I refused to sell to them. I thought I was untouchable. He exhaled, shaking his head. I was wrong. The threats started soon after. At first, it was just warnings. Anonymous messages, shady figures following me. Then one of my business partners had a freak accident. He swallowed hard. And then came the crash. His words sank in like stones. So that night, your car accident, it wasn't an accident. Ethan's jaw tightened. No, Olivia's stomach twisted. They wanted me gone, he said quietly. And for a while, I thought they had won. But when I woke up in the hospital, I realized something. They weren't coming after me anymore. Because they thought I was broken. Useless. His lips curled into something between a smirk and a grimace. So I let them believe it. Olivia pressed her hands to her temples. This was too much. Too big. She took a deep breath. Ethan, are they still watching you? He met her gaze, and the look in his eyes made her blood turn to ice. Yes. A shiver ran down her spine. The email, she whispered. It's a warning, isn't it? Ethan nodded. They know I can walk. And they know you know. A heavy silence settled between them. Olivia felt like she was standing at the edge of a cliff, the ground crumbling beneath her feet. She forced herself to think. What do we do now? Ethan's gaze flickered toward his study. I need to show you something. She hesitated but followed him as he walked across the room and unlocked a hidden panel on the bookshelf. A small door slid open, revealing a steel safe. Ethan pressed his thumb against a scanner, and with a soft click, the door swung open. Inside was a stack of documents, a flash drive, and a gun. Olivia's breath caught. Ethan ignored the weapon and pulled out the flash drive. This has everything, he said. Every deal they made. Every illegal transaction. If this ever gets out, they'll be exposed. She stared at the tiny device in his hands. This is why they're after you. He nodded. A realization slammed into her. They're not just watching you, Ethan. They're watching us. A sharp knock at the front door made them both freeze. Olivia's breath hitched. It was past midnight. No one should have been here. Ethan's expression hardened. He moved quickly, shoving the flash drive into his pocket. Then, without a word, he reached for the gun. Olivia's pulse skyrocketed. Ethan, he held up a hand. Stay behind me. Another knock. Louder this time. Ethan moved toward the door. Olivia's heart slammed against her ribs. He took a deep breath, then opened it. A man stood on the porch. Dressed in a crisp black suit, hands tucked into his pockets. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Good evening, Mr. Blackwood, he said smoothly. Ethan didn't move. Who are you? The man tilted his head slightly. That's not important. His gaze flicked to Olivia. What is important is that your wife is now part of this. A cold wave of fear crashed over her. The man stepped forward slightly, his smile widening. You have something that doesn't belong to you, Mr. Blackwood. Ethan's grip on the gun tightened. You're trespassing. The man ignored him. You should be careful, Mr. Blackwood. Accidents happen. Tragedies, even. His gaze landed on Olivia again. And we wouldn't want your lovely wife to suffer, would we? A red-hot fury ignited in Ethan's eyes. Get off my property, he growled. The man chuckled. You know how this ends. He stepped back, straightening his tie. You'll make the right choice. Then he turned and walked away. Ethan slammed the door shut, his breathing ragged. Olivia felt her whole body trembling. Ethan, she whispered, what are we going to do? He turned to her, jaw clenched. We run. Ethan's words hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. We run. Olivia's body tensed, her mind reeling. Run? From who? From what? She wanted to believe this was just some awful misunderstanding, that the past Ethan had buried wouldn't come crashing into their lives, but the look on his face told her everything she needed to know. He was scared. She had never seen him scared before. Her heart pounded. Ethan, we can't just. A loud bang outside made her flinch. She spun toward the window, her breath catching as she saw the sleek black car that had been parked near the curb peel away into the night. They're watching us, she whispered. Ethan exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. They always have been. The weight of those words sent a shiver down her spine. She took a step back. How long, Ethan? Her voice shook, the anger breaking through. How long have you known they were watching us? Ethan's jaw clenched. Since the day I married you. A sick feeling twisted in her stomach. So, what? You brought me into this knowing I could be in danger? His eyes darkened. I never wanted that. I thought if I kept the secret, if I stayed in the wheelchair, they would never see me as a threat again. Olivia's head spun. What exactly do they want? Ethan hesitated, but only for a second. The flash drive. The information on it. The tiny device he had tucked into his pocket. The one that supposedly held the secrets of the people who had nearly killed him. And if we give it to them? Ethan shook his head. It won't end there. They'll never let us walk away. The moment they have it, we become liabilities. Loose ends. The finality in his voice made her stomach drop. A dull ringing filled her ears. She had gone from loving wife to collateral damage in the span of a single night. Her hands curled into fists. So what's the plan? Running forever? Ethan turned toward the bookshelf where the safe had been hidden. No. We disappear. We leave the country. Olivia felt a sharp pang in her chest. Leave? Everything? Their life? Their home? She shook her head. That's insane. It's the only way. The certainty in his voice scared her more than anything. Her mind raced. Could she do it? Walk away from everything she had ever known? Disappear into the unknown with a man who had lied to her for years? No. There had to be another way. We could fight this, she said. Go public. Expose them. Ethan's bitter laugh made her flinch. Olivia, these people don't care about laws. They own the people who enforce them. A sharp knock at the back door made them both freeze. Ethan's hand immediately went to the gun. He motioned for Olivia to stay put. Her breath caught in her throat as he moved silently toward the kitchen. She strained to listen. Another knock. Softer this time. And then, a voice. Ethan. Olivia frowned. It was a woman's voice. Ethan stopped dead in his tracks. A flicker of something passed over his face. Recognition. Olivia's stomach twisted. Who is that? She whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He moved to the door, gun still in hand. Then, after a pause, he unlocked it. The door swung open, revealing a woman in a dark coat, her hair pulled into a tight ponytail. Her sharp eyes flicked between Ethan and Olivia before she stepped inside and shut the door behind her. We don't have much time, she said, her voice low. Olivia's pulse quickened. Who are you? The woman's gaze settled on her. My name is Elise. The name meant nothing to Olivia, but the way Ethan's entire body tensed told her it meant something to him. Olivia took a slow step forward. How do you know my husband? Elise exhaled sharply. Because I used to be his partner. A cold wave of dread crashed over Olivia. Partner, she echoed. Elisa's eyes never wavered. Ethan and I worked together, before the accident. Before everything. Olivia felt like the ground had been ripped from under her. There was another layer to this. Another secret. Ethan remained silent. Tell her, Elise said. Ethan's jaw tightened, but after a long moment, he nodded. Elise was my partner at Titan Industries. Olivia's fingers curled into fists. And you just conveniently forgot to mention that? Elisa's expression softened. He was protecting you. Olivia let out a hollow laugh. Yeah, I've heard that before. Elise ignored her. I'm here because they know. They know Olivia found out. And that means the clock is ticking. Ethan's face darkened. What do they want? Elise hesitated. Not just the drive. Something in her voice made Olivia's blood turn to ice. They want you. Ethan stilled. Elise pressed forward. They don't just want the files, Ethan. They want you back. And if they can't have you, they'll take her instead. Olivia's breath hitched. No, Ethan said immediately, stepping in front of Olivia. That's not happening. Elise sighed. You think you have a choice? Ethan's grip on the gun tightened. Olivia could barely think straight. Every second, the situation unraveled further, spiraling into something bigger, darker, more terrifying than she had ever imagined. Elise glanced at her watch. We have two options. We run now, together. Or we stay and fight. Olivia swallowed hard. She thought of her life before this moment, before she knew the truth. She had been happy. Oblivious. Safe. And now? Now she was trapped in a nightmare with no way out. Ethan turned to her, his eyes searching hers. It's your choice, Olivia. Her heart pounded. Run and live a life on the run forever? Or stay and fight against people with more power than she could ever imagine? Either way, their world had changed. Forever. Olivia's breath came in shallow gasps, her mind spinning with the impossible choice before her. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to run, to flee from the danger that had engulfed her life overnight. But something held her in place. A quiet defiance. A part of her that refused to be a victim. Ethan stood beside her, his jaw tight, his body tense. Elisa's words echoed in the air between them. They want you. And if they can't have you, they'll take her instead. She was a bargaining chip. A weapon to be used against Ethan. She clenched her fists. No, she said finally, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside her. We don't run. Ethan turned to her sharply. Olivia, no, she cut him off, eyes blazing. I am done running. I am done hiding. If they think they can come into our lives and control us, they're wrong. Ethan looked at her like she had lost her mind. This isn't just some corporate rivalry, Olivia. These people, I don't care. She took a step forward, her breath ragged. They want to control you. They want to take everything from us. And if we run, they win. Silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. Then, slowly, Ethan's shoulders dropped. A small smile flickered at the corner of his lips. I knew there was a reason I married you. Elise groaned. You two are unbelievable. She glanced at her watch. Fine. You want to fight? We fight. But you need to understand something, this isn't going to be easy. These people have resources, influence, and power. And they won't stop just because you've decided to stand your ground. Ethan's eyes hardened. We're done being pawns in their game. Elise studied him for a moment before nodding. Then let's make them regret ever playing. She turned to Olivia. You're the wild card. They don't know how much you know yet. That gives us an advantage. Olivia exhaled sharply. And what do we do with that advantage? Elise pulled out a sleek black phone from her pocket. We strike first. She pressed a button, and the screen lit up with a long string of numbers and encrypted codes. Olivia had no idea what she was looking at, but Ethan's eyes darkened. That's their network, Ethan murmured. Elise smirked. Every communication, every account, every offshore fund. This is the web they don't want you to see. Olivia's heart pounded. How did you get this? Elise gave a small shrug. I was always better at covering my tracks than they were. Ethan studied the screen, his mind racing. If we leak this, they'll burn, Elise finished. Every dirty deal, every hidden transaction, once this goes public, they'll be too busy saving themselves to come after you. A heavy silence settled between them. Olivia felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. And what happens after? She asked softly. Elise hesitated. There's no going back. If we do this, they will never stop coming after us. Even if they lose their power, even if they scatter, some of them will still be out there. Olivia's hands trembled, but she tightened them into fists. Then we make sure they can't come after us. Ethan met her gaze, something fierce and unwavering in his expression. We end this. Elise nodded. Then we have work to do. She moved quickly, pulling a laptop from her bag and setting it on the kitchen counter. As she typed, Ethan watched over her shoulder, scanning through the data with sharp, calculating eyes. Olivia hovered nearby, adrenaline making her limbs feel like they were buzzing. Minutes passed in silence, broken only by the rhythmic clicking of the keyboard. Then, there, Elise said. It's done. Ethan exhaled. Now we wait. Olivia's stomach twisted. And if they find out before it leaks? Elisa's expression darkened. Then we don't wait. We fight. The next few hours crawled by. Olivia could feel the weight of every passing second pressing down on her. She paced, her heart racing. Every sound made her flinch. Every passing car made her stomach twist. Then, just as dawn began to creep over the horizon, Ethan's phone buzzed. One word. Run. His face paled. Olivia's stomach dropped. What is it? They know. The words barely left his mouth before the windows shattered. A deafening explosion of glass and wood filled the air. Olivia screamed, instinctively ducking as shards rained down around her. Ethan grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the ground just as a second impact rocked the house. Gunfire. Olivia's ears rang as she pressed herself against the floor, heart hammering. Elise! Ethan shouted over the chaos. Elise was already moving. She flipped the kitchen table on its side, creating a makeshift barricade, and pulled a sleek pistol from inside her coat. We need to move now, she yelled. Ethan grabbed Olivia's hand, yanking her to her feet. Go! Out the back. They sprinted through the house, dodging splintering wood and falling debris. The air was thick with dust and smoke, the acrid scent burning Olivia's lungs. Then, just as they reached the back door, a shadow moved. A man. Dressed in black, a gun raised. Olivia barely had time to react before a shot rang out. The man staggered back, a look of shock flashing across his face before he crumpled to the ground. Ethan turned, gun smoking in his hands. His face was blank. Controlled. We keep moving, he said. Olivia swallowed hard, her mind struggling to keep up. She wasn't built for this. She was a journalist. A wife. She wasn't a fighter. But now? She had no choice. They burst through the back door, Elise close behind. The street was empty, the city still asleep. Ethan's grip on her hand tightened. Get in the car. A black SUV was parked at the curb, engine running. Elise slid into the driver's seat without hesitation. Ethan pulled Olivia into the back, slamming the door shut behind them. Tires screeched against the pavement as they peeled away. Olivia twisted in her seat, watching as their house, their home, grew smaller in the distance. Her entire life was disappearing behind her. And she had no idea if they would ever stop running. The sound of the tires screeching against the asphalt seemed to echo in Olivia's mind long after the car had driven away from their now distant home. The world outside the window blurred as they raced through the city, her heart pounding in her chest, her thoughts a jumbled mess. The life she had once known, the safety of her routines, the love she thought was built on truth, all of it seemed like a distant dream now, fading into the rearview mirror as the distance between her and the life she had been forced to leave behind grew. She glanced at Ethan, who sat beside her, his jaw clenched, eyes hard as stone, his face a mask of resolve. But even behind his tough exterior, she saw the weariness in the lines of his face, the exhaustion of someone who had been living a lie for far too long. His grip on her hand was firm, but she could feel the tension in every part of him. He had never imagined his past would come back like this, with such force. But here it was, unfolding with terrifying speed. Elise, her face set in grim determination, was driving with a purpose, her hands gripping the wheel as though her life depended on it. In a way, Olivia realized, it did. They were running now, not just from the past, but from people who had far more power than they could ever comprehend. They were up against enemies who had the resources, the means, and the ruthlessness to destroy them if they didn't act fast. The weight of their situation pressed down on Olivia like an invisible hand. She tried to steady her breathing, but every passing second felt like a countdown. A ticking clock that could end at any moment. "How much time do we have?" she asked, her voice quieter than she intended. Elise glanced at her briefly before focusing back on the road. "Not long. We have a window, but it's closing fast. They know we've made a move." Ethan's grip tightened around her hand, his voice low. "How did they know?" Any other rural home, isolated from the world, hidden away from prying eyes. It was exactly what they needed. Elise turned off the engine and looked over at Ethan. "We're here. But remember, this place is compromised the second we step foot inside. We don't have much time." Ethan nodded. "Let's move." They all got out of the car quickly, and Ethan pulled Olivia close, his hand still gripping hers tightly. Elise led the way, her eyes scanning the area, every sense alert. As they moved toward the cabin, Olivia felt the weight of the world pressing down on her. The quiet of the forest was broken only by the crunch of their footsteps on the gravel, the occasional rustle of leaves, and the distant sound of birds. But beneath that silence, Olivia felt something far darker lurking, an unseen presence, a threat she couldn't yet fully comprehend. Inside the cabin, Elise moved quickly, pulling out a small key and unlocking the front door. As it creaked open, they stepped inside, and the smell of dust and old wood filled the air. It was small but comfortable, with a few basic pieces of furniture and a large fireplace in the corner. Elise locked the door behind them, then hurried to the back room. "Get comfortable," she said. "We need to set up the communications and prepare." Ethan turned to Olivia, his gaze softening. "Are you okay?" She nodded, but inside, she felt anything but okay. "I think I'm still trying to process everything." He gave a small, knowing smile. "I get it." He reached out, touching her arm gently. "You don't have to do this alone." Her chest tightened as she looked at him, the man she had trusted, the man who had once seemed perfect to her. And now? Now she was tangled in a web of secrets and danger she never could have imagined. She swallowed hard. How do we even begin to fight back? Ethan didn't answer right away. He walked over to the table and began pulling out the documents from the safe house's hidden compartment. They were filled with maps, contacts, and detailed plans. "We start by exposing the truth," he said finally, his voice low but steady. "The world needs to know what these people are doing. The power they hold, the lives they've ruined, it all has to come out." Elise returned, a small laptop in hand. "We've got to move fast. The longer we wait, the more chance they'll close in on us." Olivia felt the weight of their situation settle in her chest once again. This was no longer just about Ethan. This was about stopping a network of corruption that reached further than she ever could have imagined. And as much as she wanted to turn away, to escape the nightmare they had found themselves in, a part of her, the part that had married him, that had trusted him, refused to back down. She was in this now. And she would see it through. Ethan set up the laptop and began typing, inputting codes and decrypting files. Elise hovered over his shoulder, helping where she could, while Olivia stood beside them, watching the dark secrets of the world unfold before her eyes. She couldn't turn away now. She had no choice but to face the consequences of what they had done, and what they still had yet to do. As the laptop flickered to life, Ethan turned to her. "Are you ready?" Olivia took a deep breath, her gaze steady. "I'm ready." The game had changed. But so had she.